Hi, welcome back to the show. I'm very excited because it's time for our second personal profile episode for the Game Changers characters. So, remind you, in these personal profile episodes, you're going to get my own thoughts and feelings, opinions on a particular character from the Game Changers series. On the last episode, we kicked it off with my hockey husband, Scott Hunter. Now, we're going to do Kip Grady, okay? And with Scott and Kip's personal profiles, I won't be just doing how they are in the book. I'm also going to be doing how they are in the TV show as well. It's just a week with those two, so very excited. So let's get to it. So I'll remind you of the character first, and then I'll go straight in, okay? So that's how it's going to work. So I'll remind you of the character Kip Grady. Kip Grady is a history graduate student and bartender at the Kingfisher Gay Bar. He previously worked at Strawberry Smoothie Shop, where he met his husband, Scott Hunter. His kiss with Scott after the York Admirals won the Stanley Cup in 2017 is a major catalyst for gay hockey players. Kip first appeared in Game Changer, which tells the story of his relationship with Scott and is frequently mentioned in other books. So let me get now down to it, shall we? So with Kit, what I love is we get the complete opposites to Scott. And what I mean by that is Kit is basically portrayed as an out and proud gay guy, and it doesn't really seem like he goes through any of the strides and tribulations that Scott goes through. Now, it's not to say that Kip hasn't gone through those things. It's just we don't see any of that. We get to meet him in the book or see it on screen. So clearly, that must if he did go through what Scott's gone through, then that would have happened way before we ever meet the character in the series. Okay. And I just love that we get to see, his parents are understanding of it, which is really good because obviously he still lives with them at 25. So his parents are understanding of it. His friends are understanding of it, particularly Elena. And of course, his work colleagues also seem to be fine with it. So I feel like you get a real different contrast compared to Scott, who basically lives in a world where he's not allowed to be gay, compared to Kip, where it seems to be fine. It's just, something that about him that, is unique to him. So, that. Which I think is really important because, we need to see what it's like for those who are openly accepted and not just those who are basically just forced to be closeted. Yeah, so I do really, yes, I do love that we get to see what it's like for somebody who actually is openly out and proud, and it's all and it's all fine. It's just literally accepted for it. Yeah. Honestly, him in that strawberry uniform, it's quite cute. I mean, yeah, I think if anyone else, probably not, but it is kind of cute when we see him in that uniform for the first time. Obviously, when Scott meets him and all that. But his outfit that he wears to that event that he ends up catering for, that outfit that is absolutely gorgeous. I would happily would wear that. I can't remember what event it was. Let me try and find out. You know what I mean? It's literally just before the two of them have their first sex scene. Yeah. It's like a charity event that Kip has to work for. And he's in a really posh suit with the waistcoat, the tie, and all that, which I think just looks really sexy. I would happily would wear that. Yeah. So I'm going to talk more about Kit's personality now. That's all right. So So deeply in love. So what I love is how obviously Kip first meets Scott. You know, I don't think he clocks on straight away that he is literally just deeply, madly in love with this sexy, hunky hockey player. So she just walked into this movie bar. But you see how at both points he really just gets flustered. It really just like affected, like how he ends up arriving late to that catering event, and we can see he's literally like all flustered and everything, and he has to be made to take a breath, take a moment to get composure back. So you see how that first meet really has a bit of a knock-on effect for Okay. And I think that's just so lovely. It just shows that he's really opening himself to possibility of maybe finding a man. He's an incredible hard worker with a strong work ethic. And absolutely, we definitely see that with all the various multiple jobs that he has to work, and of course, working that strawberry. Not great hours, because at various points he does end up waking up about 5 a.m. Yeah, about 5 a.m. for like a shift. That is woo dealer. That is woo dealer. Um, he is charming and smooth. Oh yeah, he definitely is. He definitely is with that structure. But doesn't think of himself as that. So like Scott, he's also quite humble and very down to earth, um, which is really good. And it keeps them both grounded. And I just really love how in the relationship, right? I'm going to talk more about now. Okay. So, also the last episode we talked about it for Scott's side. I'm now going to talk about from Kit's side. So, what I love in their relationship is how natural it is. Now, how from that first meet, it just sort of blossoms and develops into something real and something passionate and something compassionate. Because I feel with those two, they're not like Shane either, where it's all for mess, labba, labba, labba. It's just full on filth. With these two, whenever we see love between the two, it's more passionate, it's more compassionate, it's more believable, it's more realistic. And I love how the two of them ask before they can just fuck one another. That is something we need to see. We need to see more in sex. We need to all be a bit more like Scott and Kip. Ask before receiving. Ask before receiving. Okay. So I just kind of love that, and I kind of feel their first sex scenes are kind of like what are kind of like a reward. It's like we've been building up to it. Then eventually we get a reward with seeing the two of them literally just release it and just get and finally just do what they wanted. So they first clocked one another. But what I found really interesting, this kind of surprise, I tore back with Scott. What I think really surprised me, particularly some of the early sex scenes, is how it's Kip who ends up being the top in the relationship, not the bottom. I am not explaining what that is. Google it. I dare you. If you are that, if you really want to know what that is, just go and Google it. But can I advise you to please clear your search histories and your video histories afterwards, alright? Clear your histories, okay? I'm not explaining that. I'm not explaining that. Don't ask me. Do not ask. Don't, because I'm not doing it. Not doing it. Didn't do it on the last one, not doing this one, so don't. That kind of found me fascinating, because I would have thought, it would be Kip who would be the one who would have to be the bottom, and Scott would be the top. But actually, I don't really mind that, because, you know, I think it just shows how confident and comfortable Kip is in his sexuality, and the fact that Scott is literally all for it, and he's the one that wants to be the bottom, not the top. And we do get some really fruity scenes in the book. Okay, there are some really fruity scenes in the book, and yeah, you can just see how sexually confident he is in the bedroom. But there are bare times where it's portrayed as Kip's gagging for it, but obviously we understand why Scott's a little bit hesitant. Because obviously, he's still closeted, whereas Kip is basically out and proud. And so seeing that contrast is kind of brilliant. But yeah, so I would not have expected that going into reading the book, because the TV show they both get a fair shout at doing one another. So I personally would have thought those two would have both been versatile. So that's why you get to be both. So one night you might be the top, and another night you might go, I'll be the bottom. That's what I would have thought when I was going to start reading the books at first. I thought they both would have been seen as versatile guys in the sex department. Was expecting what I then obviously end up reading. Yeah, so Kip being the top in the relationship, that really, that surprised me. That threw one for stone. But actually, I think I quite like that because I feel like we get to see how confident Kip is as an open out man compared to Scott still being the closeted man. So that I felt worked wonders. And I really do feel for Kip, at times, because obviously he's literally, having to basically be secretive about his and Scott's relationship because obviously he understands full well that Scott obviously is closeted. He can't come out right now, and you can just see the strains it has on Kip as well. Now, for the book, does a very good job of showing how it is for Scott, but I do think it also does a good job, showing how Kip feels about it. Because I think it's very clear that Kip obviously wants to have something more with Scott. And they do try, with those dates, like the one at the museum, which of course obviously ends in a disaster, because obviously the two of them do get spotted. And I love how, what I love is how, when the back at Scott's spotted, I love how Kip's the first one who spots it on the socials, and he doesn't want to tell Scott, because he wants to try and protect Scott. I love that. But obviously, eventually they both do. But obviously, Scott ends up seeing it as well. And actually, that does not really come to blows or anything. But that's kind of, it's what happens then later on, in the book. That's when it then kind of comes to blows, and you just really feel that at that moment. When Kip has to basically go back home, and the two of them basically put on the break. That is so heartbreaking. And did you have to up the ante in the TV show? Did you have to up the ante up there? It's like, oh my god, it's really like, oh, when Kit goes back into the family home, it's like, oh no, it's like we just had a kid, it's now like a Kit puppy. It's like, oh no. But yeah, I'm gonna come on to you in a minute, Robbie. Gonna come on to you in a minute. Yeah. So I also really love the relationship that obviously Kip has with his best friend Elena. So I love how the two of them, they could just be open with it, because I think Elena's the only person. Actually, no, she is. Elena is the only person who Kip throughout the book can talk about his relationship with Scott. And I love how she understands it, and does her best to help trying with the relationship, particularly when it got to the gala. Oh, that was awkward. Because she straight away spots you two, you're not being very subtle. Okay. So yeah, so I love how seeing that relationship that he has with Elena, and also she can understand, what Kit's going through, and she actually all of us just points out straight away that this is actually something more than just a casual thing. It's a serious, real deal, and she really tries to be that confidant for Kip that he so badly needs. And I do love how in the early parts is when Kip at first doesn't really spot the signs of love. I mean, I don't know what his sex life was before Scott, but clearly Kit's not very good at reading the signs. Like a bit where Scott Spot tries to do like a sort of romantic gesture to Kip when he's in the warm-up, and Kip doesn't really notice it. It's like, oh god. It's like, do we need to draw? Do we need to draw it on a map for you? But I do kind of love those, and how he eventually develops there on, and then starts to be more romantic and touchy feely and all that. So that was really good. Yeah. Yeah. So the TV series, heated rivalry. So this is let's start again. So I got my tongue there. So in the TV show, that's what I want to say. So in the TV show, so the Heated Rivalry TV series, Kip is portrayed by Robbie GK, and I think that he does a really good job at portraying the character. He's a very charming man for a start. And I know what. I drew on the Francois the last episode. You don't think I was going to draw a Robbie as well? It's like, come on, come on. They're two really, they are two really attractive guys. What more can I say? They got cast really well. Good work there. Yeah. So honestly, in fact, I think me and him are all the same age. Yeah, I think we are. I think we are. I'm gonna actually, you know what? I'm gonna Google that. I'm gonna Google that. Yeah, we are. Born the same year. He was born July of 1996, and I was born November 1996. So I'm the exact same age as Robbie GK. There you go. There we go. Yeah. But I think he portrayed the role brilliantly. I did love some of those, you know, lovesick puppy vibes that he kind of gives to Kip. I love how at the beginning, when the Kip and Scott first meet, and the way Robbie portrays the character and try to check out if Scott is maybe, you know, on his team. Thought that was the way he was checking Scott out. Those were just like, that was just brilliant. And I also do love some of the personal, the emotional elements he brings to it, like how when obviously he gets that catering company, you can see Kip is literally like completely flustered. He's just run late. We all know it's because he's thinking about Scott. So I love how so I love how Robbie Carr portrays that, and then obviously his reaction when they are in Scott's apartment first night. So this is literally the start of the sex scene. The start of the sex. This is literally the start of the sex scene, and his face. Wow. Okay. The way Robbie portrays Kit expressions in that moment, as soon as Kit walks into the apartment for the first time, it's just, and then obviously we got Francois coming in, top shirt off straight away. I think it all could be like Kip Let. So the fact that, oh god, the way Robbie portrays that is absolutely brilliant. And I just love the way in his tone where he just goes straight for that. Or I pickle. It's like, yes, of course you're gonna pickle. It's a half naked man in the room. Of course you're gonna pickle. It's all every time. It's all every time. If you pick Tor before or with a half naked man standing there, then get out. No, of course you're gonna pickle. I just love the way I absolutely love the way he delivers that line. And then the two just get straight into it. It's like, come on, give it to me. I'm here for it. And then, you know, the way he then portrays Kip the next scene, so obviously when Scott is literally having to be bumbled to him, I really feel like, you know, Kip is literally taking it all in, processing it, understanding it. And then, oh, I can't remember which was it, and then asked to do the fucking. Do I dare Google that? I'm gonna Google it. Sorry, I'm gonna have to. I'm an adult, so I don't need to clear my search history. Because I can't tell when after we've had the Scott come out and be emotionally raw, I can't tell which of them then asked for it, because by that point they're both there with their kits off, so it's just basically just what all the same at that point. Mm-hmm. I think it might be Scott who asks it, but we'll have to go and take that back. Because when they're doing sexy stuff, the voices both kind of sound the same, so I get confused which one it is that asks for it. I think it is Scott that goes for it. Then Kip does ask for it later on again. Anyway, no, but I just love how Robbie portrays that, and um, you know, literally taking it all in, understanding it all, and the both of them get down dirty afterwards. So yeah, so I think, and obviously the way we then get obviously to the kiss, to the obviously the iconic kiss, um, oh, because what's really annoying, and I'm going to talk about this on another time. What's really annoying is the tea adaptation. When we next see Scott and Kip, it's straight to that iconic kiss, but it's portrayed differently because they basically cut out all the middle stuff that happens between the breakup to the kiss, gets taken out, and so basically, in that moment, it's still as if they're broken up. When we know reality, by the time we get to the kiss, they've already got back up together and started fucking again. But I loved seeing that tear in Kip's eye. The way Robert portrays that is absolutely brilliant. And you see Elias there, it's like, it's alright to be sad. I was like, oh. And then the look that and then again the face. I mean, Robbie seems to do a very good job at doing the facial impressions. When Kit's like taken back, like when Scott asks to get for him to come on down, and then the two of them just go for it. It's just such an iconic, beautiful moment. I just literally just absolutely love that. I just love the kiss between Scott and Kip. Just such an iconic moment. But what's really good, I talked about this with Scott's, was how Scott's the one that initiates that, whereas Kit's like kind of taking it back, like really. You basically have to go, go on! Just get down there now! It's brilliant. It's a brilliant moment. But yeah. So I feel like we do see a lot of emotion from Kip. And I just feel like we get to see a real down to earth guy. We see someone who's very charming, very smooth. Yeah, and I feel we get a good contrast between what his reality is being gay compared to Scott's reality being gay. And I feel the two collide really well. Yeah. So I really loved how all the people around Kip just seem to be, fine with it. Just seem to be, accepting of it. Obviously, some of their reactions when they thought about Scott and Kip is absolute priceless. Particularly one of Kip's friends who just text him. It's all in caps. It's also a bit sweary, but it also gets me laughing because it's like it's brilliant. Yeah, it's brilliant, absolutely priceless. Just love it. Absolutely love that. Yes, I do love that we get to see what it's like for Kip being out and proud. We see how his friends and family are accepting of it. I do love those moments he has with Leia because obviously they are really raw, emotional. Because obviously she's the only person that he can tell about Scott. I just really want to know what happens next with him. I did mention it with Scott, so I mentioned it with Kip. Um, yeah. Kip gets mentioned like Scott in Tough Guy. Um, He's also mentioned in the long game, but we do see him in book 4 and book 5. So you know what that means. I definitely expect to see those two in season 2 next year. Okay. Yeah, so unlike Scott, who's pretty much in every single book, Kip's only really properly in 3 of them. And then he gets mentioned in the other 3. So it's a half and half with Kip. That's a little bit of a shame because I would like to debate more of his character, but we'll take what we'll get. Oh no, I do really love Kip. And I love how he's a very down to earth kind of guy. I just love to see how he's accepted who he is, no problem, straight off the bat, and that kind of helps the relationship with Scott because it means that he sometimes can take the lead. Especially in the department, you get what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I fucking mean. You know what I mean. You know where I'm going with that. You know where I'm going with that. Okay, you know where I'm going with that. Yeah. So so obviously these two absolutely loved. Obviously I had to do them first with my first 2 character profile. First 2 character profile and first 2 personal profile episodes. I had to do those 2 first. Had to. And also, yeah, Kip in the TV show, also, just like Scott, great, brilliant. And I love the portrayal in that as well, so really happy, really pleased, really happy. Okay, so I think that's going to do it for my personal thoughts on Kip. So going forward, with the rest of the personal profile episodes we're going to do for the characters, I'm just going to do how I feel about them in the books. With Scott and Kip, I wanted to include my thoughts about how they're portrayed in the TV show as well. Because obviously these two are my all-time favorite characters. I thought I'd like that as well. But everyone else, and that doesn't include Trinity either, we're only going to focus on their portrayals in the books when I'm talking about my personal thoughts. Okay, so there you go. Yeah, but I think the Kip, that is going to be my personal profile on Kip Grady. So until next time.